Hi guys, welcome to or back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess and this is my January wrap up. So this was my TBR for the month of January. I was able to finish these top 3 and I'm about halfway through this one, but I was not able to get to the bottom 3, but that is okay because they will just roll over into next month's TBR. But yeah, I also was able to read one other book, which was a special one for my New Year's Eve reading vlog. So we will also be talking about that one today as well. But yeah, let's get into it. So the first book that I completed in the month of January was the book for my New Year's Eve readathon, and I completed it at about probably right at like 1 a.m. on January 1st. So we're counting it as a January read, and that is In the Holidays by Christina Lauren. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is a holiday romance that follows somebody who's stuck in a time loop. We follow a woman named Maylin Jones whose family always vacations in the same cabin with this other group of families every Christmas for as long as she can remember, and they end up during this vacation figuring out that the cabin is being sold and it is going to be their last time there. And she's really depressed and she really doesn't like it, and they're on their way to the airport in the car when she throws out a random wish into the universe and just says, "Can you tell me what will make me happy?" And boom, they get in a car accident and she wakes up in the plane on the way to the Christmas cabin again. So we follow her as she's stuck in this time loop and she's trying to figure out what makes her happy, and she's in love with one of the boys of the other family who she's been pining after for as long as she can remember. And so we're seeing her try to navigate the fact that the cabin's being sold and trying to fix that situation, and we also see her trying to figure out how to fix her relationship with this guy and make it work, and also how to figure out her family dynamics and just a whole lot of things like that. I loved the setting in this. I loved it's in the snowy mountain cabin, and it's just great holiday atmosphere with all the festivities and the snowman making and the Christmas shopping and the Christmas trees and the lights, and it's a great atmosphere. I loved it. I loved all the characters in here. One of my favorite ones was actually Benji, who is basically like the crazy uncle type that no one's actually related to, but he's just there, and he is really like a father figure to Maylin. Like, I mean, she has a dad, but he really is the one that like listens to her and understands her situation and tries to help her with what she's going through. So yeah, it was great characters, great setting. I loved the story, I loved the concept. It was a great Christmas, holiday, New Year's Eve read. But I will definitely recommend picking this one up if you think it's up your alley. So the second book I was able to complete in the month of January was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is set in a small little community called Shaker Heights, where everyone is perfect, everything is perfect, and it always has been, and it always will be. Well, we follow this one family, the Richardsons, who are well put together, really rich. All the kids are like extremely exceptional, except for one who the family kind of looks down upon, and we follow them in their well-to-do life. And everything's going great for them until one day their rental house is rented by Mia and her daughter Pearl. Mia is an artsy type who, like a wanderer, never really stays in one place for very long, doesn't really have a lot of money, doesn't carry a lot of stuff with her. And Pearl is her teenage daughter who just wants to see the world and just become a part of society. And these families kind of intertwine, and we see the kids all become friends, and we see the kids kind of realize that the world is bigger than what they thought it was. So Pearl kind of realizes, oh, there's this other side to life, and all the Richardsons kids kind of realize, oh, there's this other side to life where we're not weighted on hand and foot and we don't get everything we want, kind of thing. And so we see everybody kind of just like go their separate ways and come together again and really like think about what they're doing with their life and how they need to change it and if they want to change it. And it's great. Yeah, it's just a bunch of drama. There's not really a centralized like plot line to this. Like, I don't think there's like a main, there's not one single issue is what I'm trying to say. There's a bunch of different things that are just happening all at once. It reads like a drama TV show. So I really enjoyed it. It was a really fast-paced read, and it was just a really good page turner. It's also relatively small. It's under 300 pages, so it's not like a super huge book. Super easy to get through. Like I said, super dramatic, so always you want to keep reading it. And yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it. The third book I was able to complete in the month of January was The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia. So this book, I picked it up because in a bookstore because I thought the cover was amazing. I'd never heard of it before, and I really kind of enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, and we'll get into why in just a minute. But this follows a girl named Nina, and she is coming of age in this high society, and so it is her time to kind of go into the big city and try to find a suitable husband and a suitor. So she comes from her home out in the country in the middle of nowhere. She's definitely a country raised girl. She likes to be outside and stuff like that. And she goes to live with her aunt and uncle, who are these top members in the society and are really fancy, and her aunt Valerie disapproves of everything she does and thinks she's a terrible person. So we follow her as she goes to this ball, and she meets this guy named Henry, and Henry, it turns out, is Valerie, her aunt's long lost lover from one summer when they were young and they were going to get married, and then she left him to basically get married to the guy she's with now because he was richer and he had money and Henry did not. And so Henry is kind of upset with her Aunt Valerie and wants to get back at her, and he thinks, oh, what better way to get back at her than to go through the niece. And so Nina ends up falling in love with Henry, and there's all this mess of he doesn't really love her but she really loves him, and Valerie's just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And it's just a great book of just politics and romance and just all kinds of drama mixed in. It also has a magical element to it. So Henry is a telepathic or telekinetic performer. So he moves things around in the air with his mind. And Nina actually has that power as well. So that is one other thing that's in this is Henry actually teaches Nina how to use her powers. And so this book is set in 2 parts. The first half of the book, the part 1, I did not like. It was super slow, it dragged so much, there was really like nothing happening, and I didn't like it. But by the time I got to the second part, the whole second part, the second half of the book, was like a completely different, like, then the second part of the book, however, was like a completely different story. Like, it was super fast paced, it was super dramatic, you wanted to keep reading, you never wanted to put it down, and I loved the second half of it. So for that reason is why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, because if I would have been rating the first half of the book, it would have been a 2. If I would have been rating the second half of the book, it would have been a 4. So I just went in the middle and gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because that makes sense. But yeah, I did enjoy the second half of the book. I didn't really enjoy the first half. I liked that all the characters kind of had multiple dimensions to them. They all had like different hobbies and things like that. I will say I hated Valerie, her Aunt Valerie. I wish she would just go like die in a hole somewhere. Like, it was so bad. I hated her so much. She was an awful person. But yeah, it was a really enjoyable book. It's not something that I've seen around a lot, so it's not really like super popular, I don't think, but I think it kind of deserves to be. Like, it was a pretty good book. I really liked it. I think it definitely deserves a little bit more hype than it doesn't get. But yeah, that was the 3rd book I read this month. And the 4th and final book I was able to read this month is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. So this is a book following a young Viking warrior named Aelin. And Aelin is part of the Aska clan, and their rivals are the Rickies. So for as long as I can remember, for centuries and centuries, every 5 years comes the fighting season. So during the fighting season, the Ricky and the Aska meet in this huge like valley plain area, and they basically slaughter each other for about a month. And then the freeze comes and it's winter time, and so they all go back to their separate villages in like different areas, and then 5 years later they come back and do it all over again. So we see this happening, and we get to the fighting season. So the fighting season before this book starts, Aylin's only brother Irri dies, and he's killed on the battlefield, and she is distraught. She is her father's only child now. It's just her and her dad, and she wants to come back the next fighting season and avenge Irri's death. So that's when we open this book, is the next fighting season, when she is on the battlefield and she sees Irri, but he is on the Ricky side, and he is like basically fighting with the other team. And she is so confused. She tries to tell her dad. Nobody in the village believes her that Irri is alive. They're like, no, we all saw his dead body. There's no way. And it gets to the next morning, and the Ricky attack again, and she sees him and she follows him and ends up getting captured. So she gets taken back to the Ricky village, where she has to live with Irri and the family that has taken him in 5 years ago. And she really figures out, like, she has to learn that the Aska and the Ricky are no different, and there's really no logical reason for them to be killing each other and to have as much hatred for each other as they do. And so she's kind of like, wait a minute, what have I been doing all these years, and why was I doing it? When one night this other group of mythical creatures called the Heerja, I think it's the Heerja, it's Herja, I don't know how to pronounce that, but Heerja, I think, they attack both the Ricky and the Aska villages and kill most of the people. And that's when the two clans realize that if they want to survive, they're going to have to join forces against the Heerja. So it's a great story about just dynamics, like the family dynamics between her and her dad and Irri and just everybody, and the like fact of like, why are we doing what we're doing, like talking about like the societal norms, and like just you've been taught this but you're not really sure why. It's just what you've been told to do ever since you were little, so you just kind of do it without asking questions. And just like all those kind of underlying questions with it were really like cool to watch. And then there is a amazing hate to love romance in this that I saw it coming from like the first time these two people met. Like, I definitely saw it coming, but it was done so beautifully. The whole story was crafted so beautifully. The Viking mythology that is in this was like well researched and well thought out, and I loved it. Yeah, this was my first Viking story, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, great book. I definitely recommend this to you if you are a fan of Vikings, if you're a fan of like any type of fantasy, because it's definitely a fantasy, and like politics and family vibes, romance, anything like that. It's in here. It's got it for you. Definitely go check it out. So these were the 4 books that I was able to complete in the month of January. Overall, it was a pretty good reading month quality-wise, because I had 3 4-star books and 1 3-star book. So not bad on the quality-wise. Also not that bad on a page count, because classes started back this month, and so I was doing homework and stuff, and that's not a bad looking stack. So yeah, really enjoyed these books. As always, they will be linked down in the description, so if you were interested in any of them, go check them out. But yeah, that's all for today. So if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below some things that you read this January, and I would love to know. Also, let me know if you have read any of these and what you thought about them. Yeah, that's it. So I will see you with another video soon. Bye!